Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Andrew Letendre. Today I have Andrew Brown, another finance YouTuber with me. So today we're just kind of going to be discussing, life, finance, and everything in between here. I kind of wanted to get him on the channel, interview him. Before we even start, if any of you are interested in checking out his work, he's a great value investor, kind of follows the exact same principles that we follow on this channel here. So make sure you guys go check out his channel. I'll leave a link down in the description below. But without further ado, let's get into it. So Andrew, want to introduce yourself, kind of tell us a little bit about you and where you're from?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thanks, mate, for getting me on the channel. This is a really good idea. This will be fun. So,
Yeah.
all right, I'm an Australian guy. I'm 32 years old. I've been traveling the world now for about 6 years, I think. I've been in all different parts of the world, and it sort of goes with my personality with both investing and my travel. Is that because I'm a value investor, I find value in whatever it is in my life. So I've decided to live in Eastern Europe because I think that's where I get like a good quality of life without the high costs, without having to pay big taxes as well. So I just prefer to spend my money on my investments rather than on things like taxes and rent and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
so tell me how you stumbled into, I know you said it kind of matches just kind of your core principles of life and everything, but how did you get into the more value investing when you were looking to get into investing instead of, buying these speculation stocks or day
Yeah.
trading? Did you ever dabble in day trading and swing trading or anything? How did you kind of get started with, the Warren Buffett-esque value investing approach?
Yeah, no, I never did any day trading, momentum trading, nothing like that at all. I, I think because I used to have my own company, and value investing and running a company really kind of it makes a lot of sense having them like they
Like the
kind of have
fine,
the same idea.
yeah.
Yeah, so everything in value investing, everything that I read, everything that I studied was it was just really it just made common sense to me. Like I don't day trading and momentum, every other type of trading style doesn't make sense to me generally. Like it seems too psychological for me, and I like the idea of it just being boiled down to key metrics at the end of the day.
Yeah, like numbers. Yeah, I'm a numbers guy as well. I love crunching numbers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, me too. And I just like things that make sense from a numbers point of view. And yeah, I guess everything just drew me back to that approach, whether it was One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch or The
Yeah.
Dundo Investor by Monish Pabrai. Uh, like I love those books, and they speak to me. I think that's important for investors to realize. Like for everyone out there, value investing speaks to me. It speaks to you, but it doesn't speak to everybody. And I can understand
Yeah.
why other people go into different areas. And I don't call them stupid, and I don't think that's
Yeah.
crazy. It might be crazy from my point of view, but I get it because it just makes sense to them. So
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
I think I want to say it was Warren Buffett, but honestly, it sounds more like Charlie Munger. But I really don't know who said this for some reason. But the phrase was, "There's more than one way to skin a cat,"
Yeah,
and but it's true. Like there's so many ways to make a dollar, and just because of the way that we're investing, like I say that in all my videos. Like sometimes like there's like these speculation stocks people want me to cover and stuff, and I'll talk about it. And I'm like, look, I have no interest in this company for
yeah,
X, Y, and Z, and then all of a sudden the stock price shoots up or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, see, you're an idiot," and I'm like, "Look, you could have played this as like a trade, but I'm talking about like the actual intrinsic value to this business. Like it just doesn't
yeah,
make sense, or you know what I mean? But like, there's so many ways to make a dollar, So kind of going into my job, I work full time as a construction worker doing gas utilities, and I also realized, look, I'm dealing with natural gas here. Like I can't be like, and I run a crew. I'm a foreman, so I have to manage other people as well. And so I was like, I can't be staring at my phone all day trying to see when I can sell this stock for like a profit and stuff. So like it just my life in general and my strategy, it just did not work at all. Like I just couldn't do it because I was like, number one, I can't stay glued to my phone, and
yeah,
number two, I was like, I need something. I always had, whenever stocks would go down, I always had like this gut wrenching feeling in my stomach, and I was like, ooh, this isn't healthy. Like I don't know what this thing's worth, so like, am I gonna lose money? Is it gonna recover? So yeah, that long term, value investing just like ended up making the most sense for me. And ever since I started, I just haven't looked back.
That's an incredible lesson you've learned, man. I'm really glad you shared that because a lot of people that sound very similar to a lot of people that I hear about all the time. So I'm glad you shared that. That'll be great for everyone out there.
Yeah. I think there's just many ways that people can go about things. So, when did you start investing? Like, when did your investing journey start?
Oh, yeah. So I was always, even as a child, wanting to sort of run businesses and make money and stuff like that. But when I actually first started investing in the stock market in particular, it was 2011, so that's nearly 10 years ago now. And it was when I graduated university and started getting an actual paying job. I used to be a teacher, so that's what I was.
Oh,
was my
really?
first job.
What you used to teach?
Yeah. Primary school kids, they were 11 years old, and I used to teach them everything. So like math, science, history, geography, like everything.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, anyway, so I started getting a paycheck, and I started investing with that money. And then in about 2015, I ended up quitting my teaching job, and I was always going to be in business of some kind. So I started a business in 2015, and I sold everything and put all of my money that I had into this business. So yeah, 2015, poured all my money took it all out of the stock market. I'd actually done quite well over those 4 years. Most of my kicker was from the exchange rate, actually, because I was in Australia at the time.
Oh.
And I was buying stocks at like parity to the US dollar. Over those 4 years, it sort of depreciated to about, I don't know, maybe 70%. So holding US stocks was giving me I just got a free 30-40% from just the exchange rate. So yeah, on top of about an 80% gain in the actual stocks as well. It was a good little period there.
So what made you go from, okay, so I have this business, I quit school teaching, started my own business, took my money out of the stock market, so I'm assuming you took it out of the market and put it into your business. I'm assuming that's
100%. Spent every cent into inventory, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh, wow. And then so you said that went fairly well for you, and then
it did.
Just when was the transition back into the markets from that?
Yeah, so I ran the business from 2015. I sold it last year, which was cool. I had like a full exit of a company, which was great. But I started paying myself again in about 2017, and that's when I started investing again. So I was just using the money that I was pulling out of the company to put back into stocks that was when I was I started investing. That was Facebook and Google. That's pretty much all I bought.
So tell me, so how did that lead you into, hey, let me start a YouTube channel? Like, what was the idea behind it? Was it like, hopefully, look, I see how much money some people are making on YouTube. Let me try making YouTube videos, and hopefully I can start making another passive stream of income? Or were you like, hey, look, there's really a lot of shady people out there who are trying to teach people, like, let me teach my strategy that I've learned that's worked well for me? Like, what was kind of the mindset? Because, I mean, people don't realize it is not easy starting a YouTube channel and making videos. It is super time consuming. So, like, and for a long, long time, like, I'm still doing it for free. I haven't been monetized yet. So it's like, what was the mindset behind that? Like, tell us a little about that.
Okay. It's actually neither of those things that you just said. When I was reading The Dundo Investor by Monish Pabrai, one of the things I took away from that book was that he said that the best way to learn is to teach. And being a teacher, that made a lot of sense to me, because if I'm trying to learn how to be a really great investor, I should be trying to explain it to other people so I can really articulate it properly. And by articulating, it'll cement the core principles in my mind better. So I thought, okay, I would love to try to teach this as a subject anyway. Then March 2020 happened with all the lockdowns, right? I was stuck in I was in the mountains in Georgia, the country. And I was stuck in the mountains, and I literally there was no people. Like, everyone had left. The capital city of the country had closed down. I was stuck. Like, I couldn't go anywhere. So I realized at that point, I said, look, I've got to do something with my time. Like, I've got to build something. I can't just The reason I was in the mountains was because I'm a snowboarder, and I go snowboarding every winter, and I spend it snowboarding. So the snow was melting, and I'm like, oh, well, I've got to do something. I'm going to build something. And I thought, well, if I wanted to teach people, I'll start on YouTube. I'm quite a shy person generally. I'm really not that great of a presenter, and I thought this would be a really good opportunity for me to improve my skills a little bit, build something as well, and just become a better investor. That was my theory.
Yeah, and I mean, so you didn't really start that long ago, and you've kind of taken off fairly quickly. I mean, yeah, you're not 50,000, 100,000 subscribers, but I mean, yeah. I've been grinding for just about a year now, and I just, like we were talking about earlier, I just hit 1K. I mean, you kind of flew up there. Like you had some videos, and I mean, your content's like really good. Like I remember starting to watch your content, and I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. So I mean,
thanks, man.
I mean, more on to you, but I mean, good call. I think the timing too. That was a great time to start a finance channel when the stock market started tanking.
Yeah, I couldn't have timed it any better. That wasn't the plan. It was coincidental more than anything, but there was some big tailwinds there. Yeah, for sure. What you go on? Like, tell us a little bit what about your story? Like, if you did this about a year ago, that's interesting. Like, why? And tell us about the motivation you've nearly done a year. Like, man, that's a lot of effort you put in. That's huge. Like, I'm only 7 months. Yeah. And I think it's a huge effort. Like, you're further along than me. Tell us about the ups and downs of the motivation, and then why you started as well.
So first of all, as we talked about, I'm a construction worker. I've always kind of been good with my finances. My parents raised me to, hey, save every dime you make, essentially. They are not investors. They invest in the stock market, but like in a 401k and stuff like that, and in mutual funds, they hire a person to do their finances for them and stuff. But they're very good savers. They're very good at saving money, and they implemented that to me and my siblings throughout our life. And so I've been working since 14 years old, mowing lawns and this and that. Got a job at 16 years old. From 18 to 20, I went to college, but I was working, doing construction in between then. And then at 20 years old, I graduated, started working full-time in construction. And at that point, by 21 years old, I was able to save, and I do want to make a video on this eventually, but I was able to save over $100,000 by 21 years old. And
it's really impressive. That's awesome.
Yeah, really, when I started this channel, I wanted to go, hey, let me show people how you can still work a 9 to 5 and still be able to grow your wealth and be financially independent. And hopefully in the meantime, I'll be able to monetize my channel and get a form of passive income from it. What's some other big investments that maybe, I know you like Facebook and Google. What's some other big investments that you're really into right now that probably, all these big hedge funds and stuff aren't looking at really? Kind of maybe some smaller cap companies you're thinking about.
Good question. I got about 3 or 4 months ago, or maybe a bit longer now, I really did some serious research into what I call the oil tanker businesses. So, when oil was all over the place and no one could understand what was going on with the actual oil prices, which is still very difficult to understand what's going on, I looked into. This is actually I got the idea from Monish Pabrai doing this trade back in the early 2000s. He did exactly what I'm doing right now, and I'm just doing it 20 years later in a very. Because it's a cyclical business. These oil tankers. So what I'm referring to are the big ships that move oil around the world, and the companies that operate these big ships. Obviously, when good times are good, they make money. When bad times are not, when their bad times are here, they don't make much money. And I've just done I did a lot of research into that space, and I would consider that in the small cap world, because these companies are under $1 billion kind of sizes.
Oh yeah, we're getting into micro cap territory at that point.
Yeah. So, and I've looked into this company. I've spent a lot of time doing these, and this is something that's a bit neglected by the big hedge funds, because I can't really touch these small companies. But I think the core businesses of these guys are not that difficult to understand, and there's just a lot of it's unbelievably beaten down, this whole sector, and in particular this particular part of the sector has been crushed recently. But I believe that the fundamentals of the industry are going to stay around for a while, and there's a turning point coming, and I'm just trying to get in on this where
another
some of these
cyclical
companies,
buying at the bottom. Yeah.
100%. This is all cyclical play. I think this is a 3-year play. This is actually going a little bit against what I'm probably generally investing in, which I'd like to think I'm holding things for the 10, 20-year time frame. I'm really looking for big, long-term compounders, but this was nearly, when you hear of like Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger talk about buying 50-cent dollars, this is that type of play.
Exactly.
Sure. This simple. I'll just try to make it as simple as I can for you, just for fun. The boats are made out of metal. Metal is worth something if you melt it all down, right? I valued what that's worth, and that's worth, let's say for one particular company, they have 50 ships. You melt all the ships down to liquid metal, and that metal is worth, $500 million. Let's just hypothetically say, but you can buy the shares for $200 million.
With YouTube, where you're kind of looking to go with the whole YouTube thing, then just kind of keep putting out the videos you're doing, or do you have kind of future aspirations that you haven't started yet?
Yeah, I'm actually torn a little bit at the moment to whether I want to start an investment fund, because that's sort of what my goal is. I think at some point I'd love to. I would like to start an investment fund, and I think talking about what I'm doing is a good way to build up some credibility to start with. Just explain what I'm doing so that people can understand my investing philosophy. Therefore, if I do build an investment fund, they're on board with the principles that I'm investing in, and why I'm investing, and what I'm investing in, and why, and things like that. So. The reason I haven't started it yet, though, is because I do have a bit of a problem with this idea of having other people's money under management. I'm not quite sure whether I want that responsibility yet. When I don't really need the responsibility. I have my own money that I can invest in this investment fund. But if I take on more, well, I can expand quite quickly, and I can grow quite a sizable fund if I was to take other people's money on board. And that could be. I'm just not 100% I'm not 100% committed to taking other people's money yet. That's the big sort of barrier. But I thought the YouTube channel was a good sort of stepping stone into getting my point of view across and being better at articulating what I really want to do anyway. But I haven't talked to anyone about that before, so the investment fund doesn't actually exist. But maybe one day.
Yeah, nice little pipe dream to have. I'd love to just teach as a little hobby, but obviously I'm still working full time. So best other than your own business, obviously that was clearly a great investment. But we're talking strictly stock market here. Best investment you ever made, worst investment you ever made, and the one investment you regret not buying or not buying more of. Go.
Best investment, Facebook, back in 2017. Should have loaded up big time on that. Knew it was undervalued, knew it was going places. Facebook for both the first and the third part of that question. I didn't understand at the time how much my portfolio I should be investing in something, and when I find something, how much. I have a lot better understanding of that now, but that's okay. That's fine. Worst investment I ever made was about the same time. Because I was in some pretty average countries. I spent a bit of time in Turkey, Russia, South Africa, and I invested in an ETF, like a bear market ETF. That was an emerging markets ETF, right? So it was the Russian economy, the Chinese economy, the South African, the Turkish. Anyway, these countries, Brazil, I thought they were a mess. These countries, I didn't think they were going anywhere. I thought these guys are going to fall behind, if anything, because I was physically there, and I decided to go into a short them at a 3x, like a leveraged ETF and a bear market version of it, and it literally just went the opposite direction on me, and I was down when I got out. I was down about 60% in that investment.
Yikes.
Yeah, it was fine. I learned a lot from it. I didn't have a whole lot of money.
Learning experience for sure.
Yeah, I learned to don't short anything pretty much. I learned out of that experience, which was good experience. I needed to learn that.
I think I learned more from my losses than my winners. Best investment, if we're talking money wise, like biggest gain, not percentage gain. So far is still Facebook, and I still hold that. Biggest loss, and I haven't deleted the videos, they're still out there, was Carnival Cruise Line. I ended up, so biggest issue, I was buying that beforehand. I want to make a video on this down the line, but terrible investment. I was kind of shaken on it when I first started, but I honestly think I was swayed because Jeremy from Financial Education was talking about loading up and stuff. So it was almost like that confirmation bias when someone else is saying yes. And so I was just like, oh, okay. Because at the time I just came back from like a cruise from Carnival, and then I was valuing it and stuff. And I was just like, oh, yeah, he brings some pretty good points. And I went all in on that. Well, half my portfolio was in that, and I just got wiped out. I got wrecked from that one. Ended up selling, I think I rode it all the way down from 50, started buying more and more and more, and I rode that thing all the way down to about 15, and ended up doing the valuation, and I was like, even if things go back to normal, I said, at best, this is a $22 company. So I had to cut my losses, and I actually took, at the time, everything else was down at the time too, so I ended up taking that money and putting it, just kind of doubling up on Facebook.
That's good. I'm glad that went really well. I'm really it was really good to finally have a good chat to you, and I feel like we're on similar paths. You're younger than me, and I'm actually jealous that you are where you are at your age, and
maybe you're jealous of my age. I'm far more jealous at the fact that you're already 32 and retired. That's my goal. That's my pipe dream. Well, I'm 24, almost 25, so I still have what, 7 years now? 8 years until 32, so maybe, who knows? Maybe Sprouts Farmers Market will really do it for me.
Hey, look, strange things have happened. I didn't even start my company until I was like 26, so yeah, I think you're further ahead than I was at that age, so keep it up, man.
Yeah, cheers. But hey, thanks for coming on the channel, and yeah, it was a great time talking to you, bud.
Yeah, you too. Yeah, take care.
All right, peace out.